YouTube Ozic Owen, the Godows is back with my updated NFL power rankings heading into week 9 of this season. The halfway point, we'll see where teams are ranked here. Based on how teams look, how they are playing, winning and losing matters. If you go on a streak, that's a bonus. These are never predictions in my power rankings. Here how they always worked. So excited about this. Excited about our week 9 picks, our score predictions, all that content. Trade deadline video is already up on the channel. That's a little bit later today, obviously, so we'll have you covered on Twitter as well, live news, rumors, updates. So join us here on the channel. We much appreciate it, and on Twitter. Links pinned in the comments for anything you're looking for, including our sponsors, Liquid IV, GLD Shop, some NFL jewelry, regular jewelry on GLD Shop. We have a giveaway going on with them. Links pinned in the comments. The power rankings, the Cardinals back where they started, 32, down one spot. Again, they play teams tougher than maybe you would expect. But they just can't hang on because they don't have the talent. That's simple. They're going to make a change at quarterback. Eventually, Kyler Murray's going to be in there, and they will probably be better, I would hope, at least. So then they can climb, but that, again, that's an assumption. We're not predicting with these rankings. We'll see what happens when it happens. Number 31, the Panthers go up one spot. Impressive win against the Texans because the Texans have been playing pretty good ball this year, and the Panthers beat them off their both teams off their bye. Mainly a defensive performance. Very solid on defense. Offensively, I like that they controlled the clock when they needed to, controlled the ball really. For them to move up more, would have liked a little bit more on offense, but one win. Let's put it together here, and they can continue to climb. The Giants remain at number 30. Honestly, they're playing better, and it's kind of funny because they choked it. It's funny to say because they choked the game and the quarterback play was bad, but down to the third quarterback and they outplayed the Jets. What's most important is winning and losing. They didn't do that. It's why they're not moving up, but defense is playing better. They're playing a little bit better than earlier in the year. This is not enough. If the Panthers would have went out and put a better offensive performance, then maybe I would feel like they're the better team right now, but there's really no reason to move the Giants. Bears, pretty bad outing, but there's really no room to move them down, obviously. 28, the Packers, they're playing as bad as anyone right now, but there's just still 4 teams worse than them, so can't really move them down either. Patriots, gave the Dolphins some little bit of struggles here and there. They won a week ago against the Bills, so can't really move them down either, just based on what's going on around them. Raiders, the way they're playing, you kind of feel like they deserve to be lower in this, but the teams lower in this are worse. They have been worse than them this year, but they are down 2 spots to number 26. Just all around bad offense for the Raiders. Bad run defense in this one too. But Garoppolo's got no time to throw, but at some point he's got to realize he's got no time to throw. It's 3rd and 4th down. We can't stand there and take a sack. Got to throw the ball. It's just tough. Very tough to watch, and McDaniels is pretty terrible too. So the Commanders down 3 spots. The games they do show flashes or show some good things, they just still can't win. They cannot have the offense and defense on the same page at the same time. They're inconsistent and struggling at the same time. It's not like they're consistently bad. Like if they were consistently bad, they'd probably be lower, but it's an odd season for them, and who knows, could they be sellers by the deadline? Maybe they are working the phones right now, but they are down. Good offensive performance once again against the Eagles, but they're down 3 spots. They can't execute when it matters most. Colts, pretty much same boat, down 3 spots at 24. There are some good things about the Colts. Josh Downs, the running back duo, the running game, the offensive line's all right. Everything else is pretty terrible. Of course, there's some good players here and there, but the defense is pretty brutal. It's actually worse than what I expected on the defense. I expect them to be, look at the Colts on paper. I like the coaching staff, I like the running backs. Look at them on paper, though. The talent's just not there. So that's kind of where my head was at with the Colts this year. But, so they're kind of who we thought they were. A lot of those teams starting to come back down to earth a little bit. But they can still be sneaky on offense. They got some easier opponents coming up. We'll see. They might be able to get some wins and move up, but they'll have to do that to move up. They're down 3 spots after a bad defensive performance against a team that's been struggling to score too. 23, the Broncos up 3 spots. Impressive win against the Chiefs. They're on a little bit of a streak. I want to see them do that away a little bit to keep on moving up. But they're on the rise from where they were. They were towards the bottom a few weeks ago. So defense is really improving. Really good outing against the Chiefs. Obviously, they controlled the clock on offense. Wasn't a ton going for them on offense, but they controlled the clock there. They're up 3 spots. Titans are pretty much in the same boat. Like the Titans have like really good moments, but it's when they're at home. But I want to see them win a little bit more away and kind of get something consistent going. They can show us that on Thursday night. But some things we haven't seen from the Titans: the amount of points they scored, throwing the ball downfield, DeAndre Hopkins scoring because the quarterback's actually slinging it to him more often. Will Levis looked really good. The Titans are a different animal at home, and maybe even more so with Levis in there over Tannehill. So I guess a team to watch, but can they put something together on the road? We will learn. We will find out because this weekend they play on the road. And there's a Steelers win in prime time a lot, but it's going to be Mitchell Trubisky likely. No Minkah Fitzpatrick either. Got to go win on the road here, so we'll see. So, but kind of 2 teams in the same boat there, kind of trending in the right direction. But let's see if they can keep it going. 21, the Bucs trending in the wrong direction. They continue to lose. They built up a pretty good resume from the beginning of the year, but it's starting to come back down to earth. Kind of who we thought they were. I think a little bit better overall, still than what we thought they were, but pretty much in the evaluating the team, it's right in the ballpark there. But they got to get a little bit more going on offense. It's so much work for them to move the ball and actually score on offense. Defense starting to get predictable in terms of coverages and teams throwing the ball downfield on them, but they put up fights for the most part. But yeah, again, trending in the wrong direction here. The Rams, the same thing. They've kind of looked better in their record up until this past week. Letting games slip away, but now it's kind of their identity, and then they get destroyed in this past game as well. So adding that on the resume is not good. So that's going to boost them down quite a bit. I think they're pretty close to having more wins, but they don't. They don't. They gotta protect Stafford better. Stafford's got to take care of the ball better. They got to run the ball better. Defensively, just not as talented as they used to be. So they're down 5 spots, number 20. They're like a dangerous team to play though. Like they're a team in the 20 and below that. It could be sneaky when you play them, but they got dominated this week. The game was over instantly. 19, the Falcons are down 3 spots. They can't stay consistent. The quarterback play is just not there. Obviously, everything else looks pretty decent except for this week. The defense been great this year actually, but it kind of came back down to earth. But I don't know if that's their true identity. A little bit of it was the Titans on tape just really weren't a downfield team, and all of a sudden they were with Will Levis, so there was really no tape on that. So in their defense, there's that, but against them is they still didn't play well, and they played a rookie quarterback that's been beat up, and kind of a raw prospect as well, and they don't have the best offensive line, so we're not going to make too many excuses for the Falcons here. So they're down 3 spots to number 19. They'll play the Vikings without Kirk Cousins this week, so a little bit of a break there. 18 is going to be the Texans, down 5 spots. Overall, they played pretty decent ball this year, compared to what the Texans are supposed to be, I suppose. But rough one in this one. I mean, the defense was decent, but they couldn't get off the field sometimes. The Panthers controlling the clock, and the Texans' offense didn't help their defense as well. But the offense just wasn't right in this game. Stroud wasn't right. The receivers could not get separation. So just an off game. Maybe like the bye week worked against them because they were starting to get some momentum, and they kind of felt like a fresh leg team. Probably because they were young. Probably because they're young. So I guess that makes sense in a way. But still very disappointing. Lose to the Panthers. You're going to move down a bit. 5 spots, number 18. 17, the Chargers up 6 spots. Now, they does that win against the Bears? It's something that they should do. Is that enough to move them up 6 spots? No, but what's going on around them? Texans, Falcons, Rams, Bucks, all these teams heading in the wrong direction and looking pretty damn disappointing, and the Chargers looking more like themselves. So what's going on around them kind of assisted in that, with putting them up to number 17. Steelers down 2 spots to 16. Bad quarterback play. Quarterback gets injured. Minkah Fitzpatrick one of your best players gets injured. I mean, they're still in this game. They're putting up a fight. They're creating turnovers against one of the better teams in football. So maybe it's not the worst loss. I mean, yeah, you need more from your quarterbacks there, either one of them. But down 2 spots to 16. Other teams losing kind of helped them from not moving down even more. Jets up 3 spots to 15. Defense is one of the better ones in football. They're continuing to play like it. Honestly, though, and the offense clutched up when they needed to. They won the game, so they moved up 3 spots. As bad as the Giants' quarterback play was, it's crazy that they did enough to beat the Jets, though. So if the Jets would have lost that game, that would have been a bad loss, very bad. So they could have moved up more with a more convincing win. But at the end of the day, they did win. They clutched up on offense. Defense played well. They're up 3 spots, number 15. They're finding ways to win some games here. 14, the Saints up 6 spots. Bouncing back, win a game. I think, is that enough to move up 6 spots? You would think no, but multiple factors here. Again, a lot of these other teams are losing. Steelers, Texans, Falcons, Rams, Bucks. These teams pushing themselves down while the Saints are trending in the right direction off a good win against the Colts team who's maybe tougher than, they're lacking talent, but they're tougher than what do they look like on paper, I suppose. They get a little tricky on offense, but so for those reasons, but something clicked on offense. We maybe saw it in the second half of the Jags game, but to be able to put up those points and kind of get everyone involved and win in multiple different ways, pretty good sign for the Saints. And again, the Jets probably would have stayed ahead of them too if they were a little more convincing on offense. I think they got outplayed and barely squeaked by the Giants. So that was kind of the difference there. But yeah, getting things going on offense there for the Saints was pretty big. So that 14. The Vikings up 4 spots to 13. I mean, they're playing really good lately. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They, put together a little bit of a winning streak there. They're playing good on both sides of the ball. Offense, defense, both sides of the ball looking really good. So they're up because of that. But now Kirk Cousins goes down. I don't imagine they play anywhere near the way they're playing, without their quarterback, who's arguably a top 10 quarterback. So if these were predictions, you probably wouldn't put the Vikings as high because they don't have their quarterback anymore, but that's not how these work. So for now, they're up to here. I would imagine time will tell, games will tell, but they can move down because they do not have their quarterback. Very unfortunate because they're starting to play really good football, really on both sides of the ball there. So very unfortunate for them, and they're making their way up. They were starting to get hot. Browns down 5 spots to number 12. Choke game. They had that game. The interception, it was unfortunate, tipped around a bit, but reality is they could have just, played for a punt there, punted the ball, and then the Seahawks would have had to drive the field with a minute 40 or so left in the game. The way the Browns defense was playing at that point, tough one. They had it, but they started poorly and they ended poorly. Even the defense had a good chunk of the game where they were great, but started poorly, ended poorly, both sides of the ball, and that did enough to lose them the game. So that's a tough one, and one they could have had there. So they're down 5 spots, number 12. Niners are down 6 spots. You go on a 3. I still think the Niners are a good team, but you go on a 3-game losing streak, and you're starting to get exposed maybe a little bit. You're going to move down a bit. They're going to go down 6 spots, number 11. Purdy getting exposed a little bit. I think Wilkes maybe a little bit on defense. I still think he could be a good defensive coordinator, but it is showing that they are missing D'Amico Ryans. They try to run more man coverage this year compared to past years because, different coordinator, and they got beat up by it last week. So, we might get beat up by Joe Burrow and the Bengals, and they're trying to mix in some zone, and I think they're overthinking things. I think they're kind of backwards on what they're calling, and good quarterback receivers like that will pick it apart. They won't really fool them. So, tough outing for them. For the 49ers, they're down 6 spots to number 11. They were at 1. They were at 1 for several weeks in a row. So that's, not last week, obviously, but for a stretch there. So it's just tough to see them down there. Bills up 1 spot to number 10. I like that they kind of got everyone going in this game. Kind of looked like the team that was winning earlier in the year. I don't like that they let the Bucs stick around in this game. Still question the play calling here and there, maybe short yardage, goal line, things like that, but good to get a win. Can they get something going? Because they were a little disappointing before this week. Let's see if they can get something going now. They're up 1 spot to number 10. Very impressive win by the Bengals. They're starting to get going. You can feel it. You can see it. They're getting back on track. You knew it had to happen at some point. They're up 3 spots to number 9. And, really good on offense, running and passing. Defense made plays and needed to. All phases there for the Bengals. So, against a good team. So, in San Francisco. Bad matchup because the Niners pass rush versus the Bengals offensive line. They win by two scores, double digits there. So 3 spots, number 9. They're coming. They're coming. They got to continue to do that, though, to continue to move up. So we will see. Time will tell. Seahawks up 1 spot to 8. They did get outplayed by the Browns for a good chunk of this game. They started well. They finished well. Maybe a little bit of luck on their side. But I like the defense is playing better and better. It's getting better and better. They make clutch plays when they need to. Even the offense, there's some struggle from Geno here and there, but they make clutch plays when they need to. They're continuing to win while no one's really staying consistent. They're at the top of the NFC, towards the top of the NFC right now, so they're up 1 spot to number 8 after squeaking by the Browns. Dolphins up 1 spot to number 7. Yeah, I mean, some turnovers to keep the Patriots in the game, but they find a way to win. But they beat those teams. We know the Dolphins can do that. I don't need to see that. They could beat up on the bad teams. Can they beat the good teams? Now, I think the Dolphins are a good team, but can they play against the other good teams? I think they're capable. They just need to go out and show it. We need to go see it. You can predict or say, yes, they can, or no, they can all you want. We got to go out there and see it for them to get up with the elite teams. And they have the capability of beating those teams and being an elite team. It's just kind of got to go out and do it now. I think the Lions are almost in the same boat. They're going to stay put. They did win. Decent size win. Had control for the most part. I wasn't thrilled, honestly, with the win. If I was thrilled, it would have been pretty hard to not, to have them stay put. But this was kind of a game where it kind of shows that, the Lions can handle the bad teams and can they beat the good teams. I know they beat the Chiefs in week 1. Week 1, just kind of get out over the win. You can't really have takeaways with that, but they do have that on their resume. That's kind of the difference between the Lions and the Dolphins. They have a couple more, 1 or 2 more quality wins compared, but there's 2 teams that kind of need to prove they can take care of business, take care of the football, take care of the better teams. But yeah, it was a weird game plan and play calling from the Lions in this one. It was kind of like, let's just run the clock, but then randomly kind of take a shot. It was just kind of weird. Not going out there and fully putting teams away, even though they had control. And the pick 6 that, Goff under pressure versus not under pressure is a totally different guy. But it's if they played a good team in that game with that game plan, what they were doing, they would have lost the game. So it kind of goes to, what's been happening. You can't do that against the Ravens, and they got a little bit different. They got beat for the Ravens, by the Ravens instantly. So they got to go out, put teams away and, play better against the better teams, and they'll be in the top 5, but it's still a decent win there. Really love what I saw on the ground, from Jahmyr Gibbs and the defense getting after Jimmy Garoppolo. So there are some positives in that game. Don't get me wrong. Cowboys up 5 spots to number 5, back towards the top of the NFC. Dominant win against the Rams. Love that. It's just because the Rams are better. They were better in their record. So they're a tough opponent. They just obliterated them. This game was over. If you watch that game, it was over. You could feel it too. It was over instantly. But all phases. That's what a lot of this is eye test. What you show me, how you look, and just being dominant through the air, getting things going on the ground. Even special teams, but defense, dominating as well, making plays. But yeah, again, even all phases, special teams too, just being dominant and beating a good team, beating them up pretty good. So the Cowboys back into the top 5, getting back on track there, obviously. For the Chiefs down 3 spots, they were number 1 before this, so they've put together a streak and they've looked pretty decent for some of those games. But they do slip up against the Broncos, and it was a bad one. They looked pretty bad in this game. So it is just one game, but they are going to go down 3 spots after looking like that. But maybe they can get back on track. 4 versus 7. Chiefs versus Dolphins in Germany this week. Excited about that. And we have, I just realized, 9 versus 10. Bengals versus Bills, Sunday Night Football this week. Oh, it's going to be a fun time there. So, yeah, so a lot on the line with those games. But on the top 3, Ravens go up 1 spot. You started a little slow against the Cardinals, but kind of figured it out and controlled that game. Wasn't overly impressed. Gus Edwards thought he had a good game, but good team. Got a win, controlled it. They didn't really need it to be that convincing. Play, and that's another great one. 3 versus 8, Ravens versus Seahawks. I think that game, matchup wise, actually favors one team a bit more compared to the other top games, but we'll talk about that in our picks video. But the Ravens are up 1 spot to number 3. Speaking of 1 spot, the Jaguars up 1 spot. They continue to win. It's kind of a weird one. The Jags almost slipped up a little bit in this game, but they still won. It almost shows how good they are. All these teams are slipping up a little bit. But the Jags slip up against a team like the Steelers. When you slip up against the Steelers, they'll get you. They'll get you. But the Jags just show that they're just better. Like, they make plays when they need to, both sides of the ball. They could have scored even more points. That's kind of what I mean by slipped up. Turnovers in the red zone. Could have won by more points. But they're staying more consistent than anyone right now, winning football games, playing good, like pretty much on all phases. Everywhere you look, making plays. Everywhere you look. So excited about the Jaguars, looking good. A lot different than the beginning of the year, but what we always say, the beginning of the year you can't really have any takeaways from it for the predicting the future. And it's I think the Jags are an example of that. Beginning of the year meant nothing. The Bengals, same thing. Maybe the Cardinals for the opposite reasons. The Bucs the Colts. These teams are starting to. Yeah, Commanders, Raiders started to win some games, and they're starting to look at the Packers. They're all coming back down to where you expect them to be, where we expect them to be before the year. So it's kind of starting to make sense. Not everywhere, though, but in a lot of spots. And the number one's going to be the Eagles, up one spot. So the top three, they all just jumped up one spot. I don't know if one team was more impressive than the other this week. They're all pretty much even, but in different ways, where the Eagles, I was super impressed with their offense. But their defense give up a little bit. The Jags, be able to control that game and win and stay just hot, on that streak. And the Ravens being able to, start slow but then get going there. So, I don't know if on this specific week, I don't know if one team was specifically better than the other. What was the most impressive specific thing? I think the Eagles' offense, if you had to pick something. But that, kind of a reason they all moved up one spot. But the Eagles, almost slipped up here, though, but they find a way to just make clutch plays. The stars on their team show out. The talent on their team shows. Like they are a talented team. They play like a talented team for a reason, because they're a talented team. And they just make plays when they need to. So, and the Commanders always are something like it's some sort of weird matchup where they almost get them or they play good. They stopped the streak last year. So them just to get out of there with a win. They're 2-0. At the end of the day, they're 2-0. As much as they slip up against them, they are 2-0 on the Commanders this year. They only have one loss on the year, so they are number one right now. Three number ones in a row have lost the next week. And again, these aren't predictions, so some people will want to go like a mistake putting that team number one. That's not how it works. It's they're number one based on what they've done, not what they're going to do this next week. And talk about good games. We talked about the 9 versus 10, Bengals versus Bills. We were talking about the Chiefs play the Dolphins 4 versus 7 in Germany. Then the Ravens 3 versus 8, Ravens versus Seahawks this week, and then the Eagles, Cowboys, one of the biggest rivalries in sports, maybe in football at least, 1 versus 5, Cowboys at Eagles. Man, this is going to be a good week. A lot of it almost feels like playoffs. It almost feels like playoffs, even though I guess the Ravens and the Seahawks won't be able to play each other in the playoffs, but you get what I'm saying, like playoff atmospheres. Second half of the season starting up, a lot on the line, especially when it comes to the power rankings. It's a lot. If the Eagles beat the Cowboys playing simple, they're going to stay at number one. If they lose or the Ravens look absolutely dominant, watch out for them. Chiefs Dolphins, big game for both. Big game for the Chiefs to not drop 2 in a row, show that they can kind of. Still play with the big boys, which everyone expects them to. With the Dolphins, they got to prove they can beat a good team. They've beaten up the bad teams. They've lost to the good teams. Huge game for them. Huge game for them. If they can win that one, it's a huge statement. If Seahawks can beat the Ravens, obviously a huge statement. Bengals and Bills, again, great game there. So I'm really, as you can tell, really excited for Week 9. And then the trade deadlines this week. It's actually coming up today. So exciting times. Exciting times here. Halfway through the season. Hopefully you can join us for all of our content. We got loads of it on the channel and a lot of content on our Twitter as well. Always interacting with you guys there. So check us out there. Links pinned in the comments for anything you're looking for. That is going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.